Yes, and peace and love, wonderful Black God Fire family. Welcome to the Fit for Corresponding show on the Black God Fire Network, being on the 6th day of the month of January, the year 2021. We hope that you're all doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. Remember, you can keep interactive with us on our official website, which is www.blackgodfirenetwork.com. Once you are on there, please feel free to create your own profile on the network website, and you will be able to interact with the rest of the family. You can also be able to engage with us on our social media platforms. We are on Twitter at Black.Fire. You can also find us on YouTube, Black.Fire, and also Kid Newsome, even also on Twitter and Instagram under Black.Fire Network. Please do it to engage with us. You can send in your comments, your questions, your queries, your suggestions. We are always open to those particular kind of interaction and engagement. My name is Spikes, and in case you're joining us for the very first time, this is a show we get to discuss different issues taking place on the continent, and also to get to update you on news and updates from around South Africa, the North of Africa, East of Africa, and everywhere else in between. That is why the show is titled the Fit for Corresponding Show, and we bring you correspondence from these 54 countries on the continent of Africa. I always keep on emphasizing that some people might regard also Western Sahara or Sahrawi as another independent country, and therefore making the count to 55 countries. But for the purpose of this particular broadcast, we shall go with 54 African countries, which is under one continent, also known as Al-Kebulan, or originally going by the name Al-Kebulan. If anyone was to mention the name Al-Kebulan or even Kemet, some local folk might not really know what you're talking about when you talk about Kemet, which is ancient Egypt, or you talk about Al-Kebulan, which is a regional name for Africa. Some people might wonder what you're blabbering about. But nonetheless, we are the Black God Fire Network media for the 21st century. And thank you so much for being with us on today's broadcast. We are looking forward to having an engaging as well as an informative show talking about the beautiful continent of Africa. For today, I want to start us off with some wonderful proverbs from Mauritania. Some people might wonder, where is Mauritania on the African continent? But we shall be taking you to Mauritania in a short while. But for now, I want to share with us some of the wonderful proverbs coming from this beautiful country known as Mauritania. And one of the proverbs says, not all the flowers of a tree produce fruit. Not all the flowers of a tree produce fruit. Another one also reads, 2 eyes see better than one. 2 eyes see better than one. That is also the same, 2 hands are better than one. You know, when you're trying to put in some work and you have some assistance, it makes things a little bit much easier. And that is the thing that the Africans should learn across the continent, that when you come together as a people, you are able to do much more. And on the Black God Fire Network, we have been working by African collective consciousness and also African unity, because 2 hands are better than one. And also from this Mauritanian proverb, it does say that 2 eyes see better than one. And also it says, who has no spoon will burn his hands. He who has no spoon will burn his hands. You know, when it gets to the eating table and you find yourself with no spoon, you might actually burn your hand. So even as you're getting ready to serve your meal, make sure that you have your spoon with you as well. And also says, he who begins a conversation does not foresee the end. He who begins a conversation does not foresee the end. Some of these proverbs are really almost the same when you come to the African continent. If you go to the people of, for example, the Swahili culture in Eastern Africa, places such as Tanzania and Kenya, on the Kenyan coastline, where we do have the Swahili people, you'll also find them having similar proverbs. And when you talk about proverbs, it's an important way of getting to pass across information from one generation to another, and also getting to pass through morals, because the African people are really people with morals, not like with other people that you might go and find. These are people with no sense of moral. But with this passing of oral literature in the form of proverbs, it enables people to also have that passing on those values from one generation into another, from the grandfathers, the grandmothers, to the sons, to the grandchildren, and that is really a wonderful way. But nonetheless, someone who might have asked where we do have this beautiful continent, this beautiful country, Mauritania. Let me share with us some really interesting facts about Mauritania, some of the things that perhaps you might not have known about this beautiful country. And of course, this is the 54 corresponding show on the Blackout Fan Network. Today, we shall also be talking about three countries: Ethiopia, Mali, and Guinea. What has happened with these three countries? I will be letting you know what's going on and what impact does it make.
Northwest, Algeria to the northeast, Mali to the east and southeast, and Senegal to the southwest. The country derives its name from the ancient Berber by the Atlantic Ocean to the west. The Islamic Republic of Mauritania is a country in Northwest Africa. It is the 11th largest sovereign state in Africa, and it is bordered by the Atlantic Ocean to the west, Western Sahara to the north and northwest, Algeria to the northeast, Mali to the east and southeast, and Senegal to the southwest. The country derives its name from the ancient Berber kingdom of Mauritania, which existed from the 3rd century BCE into the 7th century CE in the modern-day Morocco and West Algeria. The capital and largest city is Nouakchott, located on the Atlantic coast, which is home to around 1/3 of the country's 4.4 million people. You might have known all of this about Mauritania, but then there are still aspects of the Eye of Africa that you had no clue of, certainly. Hence, in this video, we shall bring to you the 10 things you probably did not know about Mauritania. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Without any further ado, here are 10 things you didn't know about Mauritania. Over 40% of Mauritanians live below the poverty line. Despite an abundance of natural resources such as iron ore, fish and oil, Mauritania remains poor. The country's economy is based on agriculture and livestock.
When you hear about the kind of levels of poverty in Africa with 40%, for example, in a country like Mauritania, 40% living below poverty line, which means they probably are living below $2 a day. You're working and you're living below $2 a day, and or even you do not have that access to employment. You're not really employed. But I always keep on saying that on the continent of Africa, poverty is man-made. These people have resources like you had them mentioned, but the way the resources are largely taken from them, or the organizing of the use of these resources is wrong, and a whole lot of corruption like we were talking about yesterday. So I would think that this is actually something that is orchestrated to put this particular country in poverty. Not that they do not have resources. I know it's dry. Of course, Morocco also in the border, and Mali are also dry countries. But we have seen other dry countries, for example, in the Middle East, also doing well for themselves. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, of course, the UAE, other countries, for example, Qatar as well. Qatar is a tiny country which is dry. But these people are living the best in terms of per capita. They do have oil. I would suppose that in Mauritania, they probably also do have oil. But nonetheless, the point I wasn't making is that the poverty in Africa is really just man-made.
Major industries are based on its natural resources, particularly on iron ore, petroleum, and fishing. After becoming independent from France in 1960, Mauritania's independence has been characterized by recurring coups and periods of military rule, which has left the nation at a low rate.
This has also happened in almost all the other African countries that were colonized by the French. Look at Mali, look at Guinea as recent as last year, and also Mali as recent as last year. Almost all these colonies that were colonized by the French, they always do have, there is a tendencies of a coup. I'm not saying that Sudan was colonized. Sudan is also the same, but you would also find a whole lot of similarities with countries that were former colonies of the French. And also the French would use this tactic to remove one puppet and put in place another one to continue with them being able to access the resources on these African countries. And I think it's not any different in Guinea, what is happening right now. Also, what was happening last year with, I believe, Ivory Coast, the same kind of a destabilizing, so that other elements are put in there, the same that would serve as gatekeepers for the friends.
The most recent of such coup led by General Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz was in 2008. Mauritanians depend heavily on iron ore and exports, fishing and offshore oil wells for its economic progress. In addition to iron ore, Mauritania's other natural resources include gold, gypsum, phosphate, diamonds, copper and oil. But the political climate combined with other factors we will examine as we progress in this video has left the country at its knees. Hence, most of its citizens still live on less than $1 a day.
Actually, I was even giving them a better kind of rate. It's actually less than $1 a day. It's not $2. Not less than $2 a day. It's actually less than $1 a day.
Number 2, Mauritania's educational system is derived from the French system of education.
And so all other African countries that were colonized by the French, just like we do have Kenya adopting the British system, Uganda adopting the British system, and all these other African countries adopting the system of the colonizer, which does not serve to liberate the people or make them free or self-independent. It seems to just perpetuate the same system of reliance and just the same dependence that has been even over colonial and post-colonial Africa.
France's colonial influence is apparent in Mauritania's education system that follows the Francophone system. Primary school covers 6 years and begins at age 6, followed by 7 years of secondary education, which leads to the secondary education diploma, Diplôme du baccalauréat de l'enseignement du secondaire, BAC. Mauritania's University of Nouakchott offers 2-year diploma programs, Diplôme d'études universitaires générales, also called DEUG, followed by 2 additional years for the maîtrise. Since 1999, all teaching in the first year of primary school is in modern standard Arabic. French is introduced in the second year and is used to teach all scientific courses, and of recent, the use of English is increasing. Mauritania has universities such as the University of Nouakchott and other institutions of higher education, but the majority of highly educated Mauritanians have studied outside the country. Number 3, Mauritania punishes atheism by death. Mauritania is almost 100% Muslim, with most inhabitants adhering to the Sunni denomination. The Sufi orders, the Tiradiniya and the Qadiriya, have great influence not only in the country but in Morocco, Algeria, Senegal, and other neighborhood countries as well. The Roman Catholic Diocese of Nouakchott, founded in 1965, serves the 4,500 Catholics in Mauritania, who for the most part are foreign residents from West Africa and Europe. There are extreme restrictions on freedom of religion and belief in Mauritania, as it is one of the 13th countries in the world which punishes atheism by death. On 27th of April 2018, the National Assembly passed a law that makes death the penalty mandatory for anyone convicted of blasphemous speech and acts deemed sacrilegious. The new law eliminates the possibility.
So when you look at these are kind of a space that there's not real space to practice your spirituality or any religious inclination that you would like to. It means that there is no tolerance. There is a religious intolerance in this particular country. And what I have seen in many countries such as this, I think even in the northern part of Nigeria, you'll also find the same, where someone or this particular kind of a loop will be used by the leaders to say that someone has been blasphemous, and therefore we will be taking the steps to make sure that they are punished, and they are punished by death. So I would say these are kind of a loop that is used in some of these Arabian countries and Islamic countries to punish people, or to say that maybe perhaps they have conducted or they said something blasphemous, and therefore they ought to be punished maybe by death. And I would bet that there are so many people that have lost their lives in countries such as this, simply because someone said that you said something that is blasphemous, while as that was not even the case, But we do know that religious intolerance has not helped any country become better in terms of its political inclination or economic inclination. It just keeps a country in poverty, and that is what has happened also in Mauritius and other countries that are predominantly Islamic countries, Muslim countries.
Under Article 306 of substituting prison terms for the death penalty for certain apostasy-related crimes if the offender promptly repents. The law also provides for a sentence of up to 2 years in prison and a fine of more than $10,000 for offending public indecency and Islamic values, and for breaching Allah's prohibition or assisting in their breach. Number 4, Mauritania is one of the last countries to abolish slavery. Many nations in Africa made it a point to abolish slavery in their various nations, after seeing the grave consequences it brought to the nations during the slave trade period, as well as the act of owning slaves in their various nations. As many nations were on a craze to ban the barbaric act, Mauritania took a backstage approach to the situation. It passed a law in 1981 to abolish slavery, but then following up on implementation of this law was a far-fetched theory to the Mauritanian Law Enforcement Bureau, as we will discover in due course of this video. Number 5. Mauritania is mostly desert. Approximately 90% of Mauritania's land is within the Sahara. Consequently, the population is concentrated in the south, where precipitation is slightly higher. As a result of extended severe drought, the desert has been expanding since the mid-1960s. The plateaus gradually descend toward the northeast to the barren El Douf, or empty quarter, a vast region of large sand dunes that merges into the Sahara Desert. To the west, between the ocean and the plateaus, are alternating areas of clayey plains and sand dunes, some of which shift from place to place, gradually moved by high winds. The dunes generally increase in size and mobility towards the north. Belts of natural vegetation corresponding to the rainfall pattern extend from east to west and range from traces of the tropical forest along the Senegal River to brush and savanna. Mauritania has extensive deposits of iron ore, which account for almost 50% of total exports. Gold and copper mining companies are opening mines in the interior. In recent years, drought and economic mismanagement have resulted in a build-up of foreign debts. Oil was discovered in Mauritania in 2001 in the offshore Chinguetti field, and although it should have significant potentials for the improvement of the Mauritanian economy, its overall influence is difficult to predict. Mauritania has been described as a desperately poor desert nation, which straddles the Arab and African worlds and is Africa's newest, if not small-scale oil producer. There may be additional oil reserves inland in the Taurdeni Basin, although the harsh environment will make extraction expensive. Number 7. Human rights abuses are rampant in Mauritania. The Abdullahi government was widely perceived as corrupt and restricted detainees. Amnesty has accused the Mauritanian legal system. Mauritanian blogger Mohamed Cheikh Ould Mtayed in Europe. Number 8. Modern slavery exists in Mauritania.
The same thing also happens in
Despite the
Guinea.
fact that in 1981 Mauritania made slavery illegal, being the last country in the world to do so, as we saw earlier, slavery is far from non-existent practiced in Mauritania. Tens of thousands of people, mostly from the minority Haratin or Afro-Mauritanian groups, still live as bonded laborers, domestic servants, or child brides. Local rights groups estimate that up to 20% of the population are enslaved, with 1 in 2 Haratins forced to work on farms or in homes with no possibility of freedom, education, or pay. Slavery has a long history in this North African desert nation. For centuries, Arabic-speaking Moors raided African villages, resulting in a rigid caste system that still exists to this day, with darker-skinned inhabitants beholden to their lighter-skinned masters. Slave status is passed down from mother to child, and anti-slavery activists are regularly detained and tortured. Yet the government routinely denies that slavery exists in Mauritania. Instead, arid nation plagued by constant severe droughts. Although it has made significant improvements in reducing poverty and chronic malnutrition, its rapidly growing population still faces major challenges, including food insecurity, malnutrition, and land degradation. About a quarter of the population live in poverty, and malnutrition remains widespread, with 90% of agricultural production subsistence-based, large numbers of people being vulnerable to the effects of events such as droughts, floods, and locust invasions, all of which are made worse by rapid soil erosion and desertification due to climate change. A series of major permanently on its shores. These ships face their dome on these shores due to turbulent climate and have not left because of the nature of Nouadhibou. Hence, if you are in Africa and you wish to check out the resting place of some of the world's retired ships, just head out towards the Bay of Nouadhibou and you are bound to have an unforgettable memory. There you have it, explorers. Those were the top 10 things you probably did not know about Mauritania.
As you can see, Mauritania is really an Arab country at the top there, but of course, we do have the black people that I would call these are the Afro Mauritanians, not the Arabs that came on into Mauritania later on. But that is how it is for Mauritania. In case you're wondering where Mauritania is, that is exactly where you will find Mauritania. I would not fancy myself living in Mauritania, even if I was given a free citizenship in Mauritania. I would not see myself moving out of Kenya and going to Mauritania. Never. Because that means that you're limiting yourself in terms of even the opportunities that you might find I believe right here in Kenya, our economy is doing much better. Of course, we are different in terms of the climate, how they are and where they are positioned. They are in the Sahara for Kenya. We do have these highland mountains in Kenya and also in Ethiopia, which are much better in terms of agricultural productivity. And that's something that is actually keeping us a little bit much further ahead. But nonetheless, like you had, they also do have iron ore, and they also do have a lot of petrol. They have petroleum, which they began to survey in 2011, and actually that would also now contribute to their country maybe becoming a little bit much better economically. Sister Michelle, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. You say in our morning, good morning to you too. I hope that you are doing well. Thank you so much for being with us. I would compare Mauritania, maybe perhaps, to a country on the continent such as Mali. You know, Mali is also a country that is bordering on there. And Mali right now, things are not looking any good in Mali, simply because of the instability, the political instability in this country, where there has also been a lot of coups. And right now, the country is being actually run by the military junta in Mali. And that is why this has resulted to the country also being placed on, has actually been knocked, thrown out or delisted from the Agoa. When you talk about Agoa, I do believe this is actually a pact that actually helps countries be able to access the US markets. And if your country is actually on this particular list, then it means that the tariffs are actually removed. So right now, the U.S. government has responded to these destabilizing of these African countries by delisting them from the Agoa Pact. The U.S. has removed access of Ethiopia, Mali, Guinea from the duty-free trade program on Saturday due to the recent alleged human rights violations and coups. In Guinea, there was a coup. Right now, it's under military junta. Also in Mali, there was also a military coup. In Ethiopia, there has been fighting between the federal government and the TPLF, which is the army representing one of the regions, which is the Tigrinya or the Tigray region, where we do have the Tigrinya people. The president, US, Joe Biden, has threatened to remove Ethiopia, and eventually it has been removed. And of course, this does not do them any good. This, I do believe, does not do them any good. Let me share with us briefly on what impacts these will have. Let me share briefly so that you can understand what impact this is going to have on these. For people maybe perhaps who are looking forward to get involved with business, you know, in a country such as Ethiopia. Ethiopia was really striving to become an industrialized country by even creating the Grand Renaissance Dam, which has been also controversial because the Egyptians had decided to also get into a quarrel because they are using water from the river, and the removal of this particular water, the taking of this particular water and putting it into this reservoir of the Grand Renaissance Dam, of course, will limit the volume of water going down. And let me share briefly on this so you can also get understanding on what's going on for these three countries. I would also not see myself getting into business perhaps with Mali. Mali is not really known to export a lot. Like I said, Mali is also a country that is a desert country on the western part of the continent, and there are consequences for these countries also being removed. But let me share a little bit on the same so you can see what's going on.
Well, the United States has blocked Ethiopia, Mali, and Guinea from access to a duty-free trade program. This follows President Joe Biden's threat to do so over human rights violations and recent coups. The U.S. Trade Representative's office said in a statement that they will terminate Ethiopia, Mali, and Guinea from the Agoa Trade Preference Program. The U.S. has cited actions taken by each of their governments in violation of the Agoa Statute. President Biden warned in November that Ethiopia would be cut off from Agoa duty-free trading regime due to alleged human rights violations in the Tigray region, whilst Mali and Guinea were targeted due to recent coups. Edgar Odari is the executive director of the Nairobi-based advocacy group Eco News Africa, and he joins us now via Zoom from Nairobi. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So these actions, this action that America has taken against Ethiopia, Mali, and Guinea, there were warnings, and suppose not unexpected.
Well, they're not unexpected because there was sufficient warning given to these countries to be able to adjust their issues, some of the issues about concern to the United States. So it really doesn't come as a surprise because the warning was given is
coon media controlled by the West, coon ass niggas controlled by the West. This comes as no surprise. This comes as no surprise. They should have done what the white man told them to do. African people, if you learn to unite and trade amongst yourself, these sanctions will have no damn validity on you. If you grow up as people, stop being children, grow up and learn to trade amongst yourselves, these sanctions have no validity on you. You won't have morons come on and paid by white people. These sanctions should be no different. Even you don't do what the white man tells you, this is what happens, you dumb niggas. You do what the white man tell you to do, and you will have no problems. If he gets all the resources and steals all the money out your country, that's the good thing. That's good. That's good.
But these right now, you realize sometimes what I was talking about the level of trade between African countries, like you'd have Botswana trading with maybe Kenya or Zambia trading with maybe Senegal. It's very low. The level of trade between African countries is almost in some cases
it's almost zero because it was set up that way. It was set up that way by the European powers. They have all the countries go to them, and they influx their finished products back into Africa. That's where it was designed, to make sure Africans stay impoverished.
So what even happens, for example, when you come to maybe perhaps even things like farming now, when you're talking about the farming of fruits, the farming of vegetables, the farming of flowers, these commodities are taken from Africa, taken to Netherlands. They have an auction market.
Yep.
So the Netherlands people, the people also determine the prices. So the farmer here does not determine the prices. The likely sold at an auction market, and the same also for coffee and tea. It's taken to the
and that's called stupid. That's called stupid. Everybody knows it's stupid. That's why the puppets are there. Why these puppets are put in place. That's why this media you just showed is absolutely moronic. They didn't follow what the white man said. They were warnings. They were warned. They were warned to make sure they do what the white man told them to do. They were warned.
Let me hear also what these other brother has to say, whether he's going on now with the same nonsense. Let me hear also on the same. Let me.
Hello, everyone. Today is Monday, January 3rd, 2022. Biden slams sanctions on Mali, Guinea for coups. Ethiopia also hit. This article is taken from Nigerian News. The United States suspend Ethiopia, Mali, and Guinea from access to a duty-free trade program, following through on President Joe Biden's threat to do so over alleged human rights violations and recent coups. The United States,
they don't give a shit about black people. Nothing. They don't give a shit about nobody black. They don't want about AIDS. They don't want about Ebola and all these other wicked ass diseases in Africa. So when they talk about, oh, we're concerned about human rights, they don't give a shit about African people nowhere on the planet.
It goes back to the same the policy, the foreign policy towards Africa, the U.S. foreign policy towards Africa. The policy is not to get Africa out of poverty. The policy is to keep Africa impoverished, and also to make sure that the population is controlled on the continent, so that that will be out of resources from the continent. That is a policy, and Kissinger actually said it when he was on one of the interviews, saying that the policy is just to make sure that these people are infected with AIDS. We take out as many of them. But now you will find people thinking that, oh, for example, recently Anthony Blinken, who is the Secretary of State, was here in Kenya. I don't know whether he went to Ethiopia, but he was here in Kenya. He also went to Nigeria and Senegal. And when he was there, you would think that they are going to these, they are making these foreign trips to go and solve out or help sort out the issues with Ethiopia, or help out any issues with Guinea, or help out any issues with Mali. But that is not really the case. This is just mostly PR or public relations, meant to seem like they are going to intervene or they are helping in
Well, they're
intervention.
the ones creating the problem. They're not the ones that they're gonna fix. They're the ones creating the problem because Africa's got all the resources. Shit, I don't want these Africans, like that guy said in the interview. Oh, heaven forbid, Africa has a lot of resources, and we want to get the resources and kill the African. Heaven forbid we try to help them. No, we're not. Europe has never done anything to help Africa and African people.
The president
Ever.
of Turkey, the president, I think I'll share that clip. The president of Turkey also saying it as it is, and the African we are just here smiling. You know, if someone actually put out the intention against you, you should be able to act appropriately, not stand there and
you smile, you dance. You smile and dance to people while they stabbing you in your goddamn back and chopping your head off. This shit's crazy.
Claimed against it. And any reasonable person will say that the way that Prime Minister Abiy handled the war to put down an insurgency that started the war is textbook and should be imitated by future heads of state. Biden said in November that Ethiopia, I went over that, Mali and Guinea were targeted due to recent coups. The suspension of benefits threatens Ethiopia's textile...
You know what they had coups? Because they overthrew their bootlicking leaders who were giving all the resources to white people.
Can you hear me? I think I lost your audio.
White people.
Yeah.
They're not to do that.
Yeah. But I would agree with this gentleman when it comes to the way Ethiopia has responded, or Abiy Ahmed has responded, because these are people who want to succeed and make Ethiopia even smaller. So I think they should have also been met with this force that they have been met with. You know, if you remember about the force in the war in Ethiopia.
They're supposed to. I just said I told you I'd wipe every Tigray out, wipe their ass out, because they're backed by the West, Spikes. And it's already been covered that's what they're backed by. They don't got no money, no fucking Tigray. They just told you all the Western powers were caught on that Zoom call. So yes, we're going to back the Tigray, have them go in and invade Addis Ababa. So make sure African people stay stupid and poor. Understand that. They're hyper vigilant, and any African country starts to, hey, we're going to try to get free. They manufacture. No, nigga. No, you won't. That's right. We're going to come in there. We're going to put tribal. And we know you niggas are childish. You practice tribalism. So we're going to put tribe against tribe and break the country up.
The same thing I believe has been happening. I think when they realized at some point maybe Nigeria was coming together, they now started all these different.
Of course. Nigeria's a threat. Nigeria's a threat. They're going to be 1 billion people by the next 30 years. That's why Bill Gates in there fucking them up with the damn vaccination. Kill as many of them off as they can now. Yeah, if Nigeria was a real country and not a puppet state of absolute corruption, it'd be a power on the planet. And that's a no-no.
Because you know, it would actually make all these other countries right there go by the rules of the bloc. You know, there is Benin. Benin is also a tiny country that does not know whether it's going forward or backward. There is Nigeria.
They would absorb Benin.
Yeah,
Nigeria would absorb it.
Would absorb even Nigeria. I would think they would also absorb even Nigeria, so that they also have one strong bloc.
They would absorb Niger. They would absorb Benin and Togo. They would absorb it because the power of Nigeria. They would absorb it. Because anyway, those weren't countries to begin anyway. Those crackers created that nonsense anyway. So I would just absorb it by power. I would absorb it by power, and I wouldn't. And I wouldn't say, I'm sorry. You're going to become Nigerian by force. Period. And no one's powerful enough to stop me.
That would have been what was done by Russia. You know, Russia with the Soviets, how the Soviets came up and how the Soviet was. It actually made these other countries Russian. Even though they wanted to go and become smaller countries.
Yeah, they
Russia.
they absorb most of Asia, most of goddamn Eastern Europe. Yeah, Russia absorbed that ass, and you don't be Russian. Shut the fuck up.
So if you have the same Nigeria actually absorbing all these countries and pulling the resources together, for example, in Niger, they have a lot of uranium. Go to Benin, they also do have a lot of resources on the ground. Go to Togo, and these are smaller countries on the side. They also have a lot of resources, but these resources are not being exploited to the benefit of the African people. The resources are taken to France. That is where they use them for their industrial for their plants or their manufacturing concerns. And that is why you hear fighting of Niger, fighting of Burkina Faso, fighting in Mali. And so you do have all the resources on the ground. Like I said, Niger, I think, has the biggest, largest uranium deposits on the continent, maybe only rivaled by the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, in terms of the endowment with uranium on the ground and other different resources. But for example, in the other neighboring countries, like you did have here, I believe even Mali do have a lot of aluminium and iron ore as well. But look at this. How has these resources on the ground helped African countries? But
that's why everybody says, why don't African countries work? Because they were set up not to work, stupid. Why African countries so backwards that they don't work? Because they were set up not to work. They were set up to be corrupt. They were set up to be thievery.
Let me tell you more on the
more pressure on an economy reeling from the conflict, the coronavirus pandemic, and high inflation. No, what's going on is the current U.S. administration, just as the ones going back to Kennedy and so forth with Fidel Castro, because they didn't do what he wanted. The people who had economic power had it taken away when all the resources of the Cuban nation were given for the people, instead of a few rich people. And so they had the government of the United States put sanctions and try to assassinate.
And it's funny, Cuba's had sanctions of a little island country and still exists today from American sanctions way back in the early 1960s, because they can supply their own shit. African country, how about you learn this common sense shit? But you always got to be children. That's why we consider a child race. How can a little island sustain itself with all the world's embargoes, and the Africans can't? They got everything in Africa. It's like,
that's not making any sense. But I think even Cuba was good when it comes to structuring its food security program. I think they were making their own tractors. Maybe you might correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were making their own tractors.
Yeah, you got to make shit. You got embargo. Ain't nobody. There's no one giving you nothing. In fact, you got to be able to make your own shit, make your own doctors, make your own phone. So the thing is to make sure you don't have your resources to your people. To give them the rich crackers, to give it to white people around the world. We live in a prison planet. When white people on top and all resources are supposed to go to them. And everybody live in poverty but them. That's the way they set the globe up.
So are you saying would you agree that these embargoes also helped Cuba become a little bit more self-sufficient and more
of course, self-reliant. They had to. They are self-sufficient. They had no choice. They go self-sufficient, or they gotta go back to the white man and say, please, we'll do whatever you want to do again. We'll be broke, impoverished, and give all our resources to white people.
But
they had no choice.
The same kind of economic terrorism also happening now with Venezuela. You remember they were trying to kick out these.
They're doing it now. Exactly, because Venezuela had Chavez, who told you. As soon as he said he acknowledged his black ancestry, oh hell no, hell no! This motherfucker saying he's a nigga. Oh no, nigga. Oh no.
They're coming for
We're coming for your ass.
And of course, that is a tactic. Economic terrorism. That is what I do call it.
That's what they do right now in Venezuela. Remember they tried last year with Trump. They tried to invade and shit. They got fucked up. Tried to invade Venezuela. They got fucked up. They tried to kill that Chavez on the plane. The CIA had him on the plane. And the people in the street said, of course, they on the news. They talked the news in America. They were, Chavez has died. He's died. They're going to kill his ass. All on the news around the world, Chavez is dead. He's dead. And the people say he ain't dead. If he's dead, we'll tear this motherfucker down. We'll blow all the oil up. You won't get none of it. And magically, he wasn't dead. And the CIA let him go. Oh, we were just joking. He's alive. Look at him.
But let me ask you, when it comes to this particular equation now, where these countries are denied these access to duty-free market, do you think that, for me, I think what will happen is that the Chinese will now step up and give these countries some bad deals. You know, they will come up and say, because you don't have the
Chinese control about the same white supremacists. Racism coming in the back door. What is China? China don't have no farmland to feed no African people. They feed you plastic rice. The thing is to get the African land. Africa has the best soil in the world, so why the fuck would you go to China? Because you're a moron.
What they will be trying to do, I think, for example, for Ethiopia, they have a lot of coffee and a lot of textiles, and now this market has been blocked. The U.S. market has been blocked for them to export into these markets. So now what will happen is that the Chinese will come up and say, we shall buy these textiles, we shall buy these coffee, but they would give them a bad deal. You know, sometimes people say a bad deal is better than a deal.
The ideal is well, we got to go to Africa and raise Africa's living standards so we can trade our products with other African countries. That would be your long-term deal.
True.
So we got to get rid of puppets on the continent so we can raise African living standards so they can buy what we're selling. That's what you would do. Not always go to China, go to other places. It's the same moronic shit. I'm not going to, you're supposed to be thinking about your grandchildren. Not, oh, I got this deal from the Chinese that don't benefit me. All this dumb shit. So listen, I'm not going to have my grandchildren be in poverty. So I must raise the damn living standards of Africa, period. So they can buy what I'm selling. And that's supposed to be your goddamn goal. That's why Africa's all fucked up today, because there's nobody looking internally why Africans have no roads, have no infrastructure. Because, oh, we go to China, we'll go to some Russia. Hey, moron, you got to fix Africa.
The problem is also with the over-reliance on the same industries. Right now, we do have the agricultural sector. So if you have a country like maybe Kenya, it's farming vegetables. Uganda is also farming vegetables. Tanzania is also farming vegetables. So how are you going to have people taking vegetables?
No, you got to take the step. So listen here. We got to set up a manufacturing hub in Africa. One country has to be completely about manufacturing. We got enough agriculture. Let's go back and forth. No one has to starve. And now we got to set up different sectors. We got to have a United States of Africa. Like a Silicon Valley. But everything is the most technical, advanced country right now. Whether it be Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, that's going to be Silicon Valley of Africa. Who has the best resource to manufacture shit? Congo. We're going to put a bunch of manufacturing plants in the Congo. Agriculture, that's everywhere in Africa. So we don't never have to starve nowhere. Africa can feed all of Africa 10 times over. Should nobody ever go to bed hungry in Africa, ever.
So I think what they're trying is just breaking down. For example, giving a sanction on Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a country that was really doing well in textiles. And of course, if you look at the contribution of a textile in the industry, these are textiles being exported to the US, textiles being exported to Europe.
Let's move over to Ethiopia now. The country earned about $3.6 billion from exports in the just concluded fiscal year, a record high in the country, and about $3.6 billion from exports in the just concluded fiscal year, a record high in the country's history. According to authorities, Ethiopia's external earnings rose 20%, with agricultural products such as coffee and flowers driving that growth. With the details, here's CGTN's Groom Chala from Addis Ababa.
According to reports from the Ethiopian Ministry of Trade, the country had planned to earn $4.1 billion from export trade and achieved an 88% return as it ranked in 3.62 billion US dollars. Agriculture, mining, and industry sectors were the key performers during the period, which ended in June.
This year, we have registered the highest export trade success. This is also the highest value we have ever recorded in the sector. 88% of our goal has been achieved. Compared to last year, it's a growth of 19.5%.
That's no good.
Ethiopia has also announced it earned 906 million US dollars from coffee export alone this concluded fiscal year that commenced in June 2020.
I think, well, apart from this, all that is happening in Ethiopia, Ethiopia was really positioned to become industrialized, and with the generation of enough energy,
that's right.
The hydroelectricity.
That's right, and that's a no-no. And that's a no-no.
Yeah,
exactly.
So it would actually step up and become an economic powerhouse.
Yeah, soon as you start, and so they're gonna bring other African nations against you, and so you know, Africa's not supposed to be impoverished. From Ghana to Nigeria to Kenya, Tanzania, why do white people get to dictate to you your damn resources? Because you're weak and you have no power and you become moronic and weak. That's why. Comment, why do white people got to dictate your damn cocoa, everything, cocoa, coffee, tea, all comes out of Africa. You know, like you said, but you don't set the price on none of it. You know why? Because you're weak and you got no power and you like dancing around and being a moron. Hey, white people, they're my friends, all that old dumb shit. And white people smack you in the head and say, nigga, we're gonna define the price of your damn resources. You say, okay, white daddy. That's why.
They do have the flour auction, of course, in Netherlands, and that is where you do find the products being coming from Africa being auctioned. And like I was saying,
inappropriate behavior until you grow a backbone, African people, a backbone. Stop being goddamn, stop being submissive and passive. Same way they did. And what happened? Same way they did in Zanzibar.
Very good, I can hear you.
Same thing in Zanzibar when they were being mistreated. You're being mistreated on a global level, African. The response is not to smile and grin.
I think I lost your audio, kid. Let me just check what happened. I think I lost Akira on that. But I was saying when it comes to things like minerals and also things like flowers and other resources from the continent, things like coffee crops, coffee and tea. When it comes to setting of prices, we as an African people are also lagging because we do not set these particular prices. They are set an auction. But for things perhaps that might be coming from outside the continent, Africa has not really any say on the prices of these commodities. And that also goes back to power. I know that prices are normally determined by the forces of demand and supply, but I also do know that you can actually be able to regulate the amount of this, the price of some particular resource that you do have if you do have proper and full control of the same. But nonetheless, going back to the same point, Africa control and also power, these things are really actually lacking. So I would say that when Africa now loses, for example, Ethiopia, Mali, and Guinea loses the deal with the US for the access to duty-free marketing and giving the African continent fake deals. They will be told, if at all you're exporting these amounts of product to the US, we can also buy almost the same volume or the same quantity, but this is our price, and you would rather take the price on the table or leave it. And that is why you will see Africa, the continuation of the perpetuation of the same state of poverty, simply because we do not have the proper bargaining power, because every country wants to go on the bargaining table on its own. We do have smaller countries like Djibouti going to bargain with China. You will find that the deal will actually be in the favor of the Chinese. If you have the same maybe for example a smaller country like Somalia going into a negotiation with the US. They will also come up on the losing end of the deal, and that is a problem. But nonetheless, the Mzungu can only get away with what we permit them to do. And now, of course, Mr. Joker, between the two of you, I do see a comment from Answer. I don't know what rabbit you're talking of. But Jiman, I also see a comment. You're saying, what is the comment from? You're saying, let me start comment from Jiman. China is putting African nations in debt. It's all the same game maintained by the by the Western puppets. Yes, that is the same thing. You do find people taking deals that are not any good for their country and are remaining in perpetual state of poverty, like Angola. Angola right now has the highest Chinese debt. Zambia also, I believe, comes in second. We also do have the DRC Congo also having a lot of Chinese debt, and also Kenya as well on there having a lot of Chinese debt. And I believe other Central African counterparts are also in the same debt trap. But the problem is these leaders not even disclose these deals that they are signing on behalf of the people. They do not disclose them to the citizen that they are signing on behalf of the people with the Chinese, and that is one of the things that have resulted to this situation being the way it is. Africa, really, the only solution I do see right now is really going into manufacturing. But you cannot really have manufacturing unless you also do have things like energy, the sources of energy. That it has to move to green energy. It has to move from the use of coal. And we have seen all these other industrialized countries using coal to industrialize their nation. But now when it gets to the point where now an African country can also use the same coal to expand or to industrialize, now it's being given a deal, being told we will pay you this money to step away from coal and go into other sources of energy. They know that these other sources of energy will not even really be equal to what coal would have provided in the short run. But nonetheless, South Africa has also now signed on to a bad deal, which will see them step away from coal, which would have at least helped them step further in terms of getting really industrialized and also pulling other African countries closer to industrializations on the South African part. Africans of the continent need to look at what Kazakhstan is doing now. The citizens are burning the capital down, taking over military, and run the Russian puppet leader out. Yes, I have seen what has been going on with Kazakhstan, because the Russians has been trying to have a control and run everything just like they were doing with what was the name of these other African? What was the name of these other country that was like a Russian small nation? I'm trying to remember, but that is exactly what should happen. What is going on in Sudan is almost somewhat similar in Sudan, but the problem is in Sudan there was a deposing of the Omar Bashir, who was a dictator. But after they deposed him, the military took over, and the military decided to put in place a transitional government which had a civilian. Then they overruled, or they knocked out the civilian segment of that transitional government, which was supposed to be a part civilian and part military, to foster or to organize for the running of democratic elections in that particular country. Democracy is also a fallacy, but the people in Sudan are also not tired of course, there has been the cost. The cost is lives. Many people have lost their lives in Sudan. But let me also end this particular broadcast with sharing a bit of a video with what is happening in Sudan, even as we wind up on today's episode of the Feed for Corresponding show. Let me show us a little bit of the Sudan protest, and then we shall be winding up. Because in Sudan, I agree, the people are really still there, pushing out these rulings. They're saying military protests. There are some people that have died, and this is was it last week? Let me just share briefly on this so you can see what's happening. In contrast to what's happening in Kazakhstan, you'll also see a little bit of the force in Sudan. And this is not the first time they're doing it in Sudan. They want to liberate their own country, and they won't take it back in their own hands.
Thanks for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, several protesters are killed in a crackdown on huge Sudanese protests against the military. It took over the country in October, and dozens have died in demonstrations demanding the return of civilian rule. Also, a stream of South Africans flow through Cape Town's cathedral to say that...
That was the Kuna Desmond Tutu there, but let me share these. The one that has the rally.
To other world news now, and to Sudan, where thousands are on the streets again to protest against the military takeover. Internet services are reported to have been suspended there. The reinstated Prime Minister has been trying to appoint a new...
I forgot to ask Sister Michelle, since she has a family in Sudan, whether they are out of the country or still in the country, because things are about to still even get more dire than they are. Sister Michelle, if you're still with us, do let us know whether you still have your family there or they have actually left and return back to the US or move to some other different part, because in Sudan, in Khartoum especially, this is where the most of the action is, and in most cases you hear most of these protesters also being killed, but the fight is far from over.
Cabinet for more than a month without success. The protesters want the military to stay from a transitional to a democracy. Mohammed Val has been covering this story from Khartoum. Mohammed, what are the numbers like so far? How many people have started to gather?
Well, there is no precise estimation, but it's very clear that there are huge numbers that have been gathering in the three parts of the Sudanese capital. That's Khartoum Bahri and Khartoum itself, the capital, and Durman. We said before that all the bridges have been blocked by the security forces, and that the presence of these security forces this time around has increased.
Of course, that is the youth of Sudan. They have decided to also put in some work. The thing is that the Prime Minister steps down in this country, and when he stepped down, there is a lot of political uncertainty, because what was happening is that the military wing of this transitional government had forced him to take orders from him, take orders from them, and therefore he was just there like a puppet of the military. And I'm not really sure how these particular will pan out. Whether the military will allow for the transition and having an election be conducted in this particular country, because even with the elections, this does not guarantee that you will have an election where the true voice of the people is actually, the results are representative of the true voice of the people and what the people really want. You do find that there is always a mechanism, or there is always a way of tampering with these elections, whether be it in Sudan, it might be in Nigeria, it might be in South Africa. Elections anywhere on the continent of Africa are most sharp.
Doesn't matter about who votes, matters who counts the vote. I don't care. Vote all day, stupid. I don't care about your vote. Go ahead and vote.
That is a problem with the people on the continent. People do believe that there might be any kind of, unless you do have a true leader coming from the people. And for example, with the way the Sudan are conducting their protests, there has not been any individuals that have been leaders.
I must still say that guy like he's on crack that you played. Like
the reporter, is it the reporter? Are you talking about the reporter that was reporting in Khartoum? He probably might be on something.
Muhammad is on. Muhammad was on. I wasn't on there yet. My phone overheated. So whoever was Muhammad.
There was a guy riding on the donkey. That's Muhammad. But I was just saying that in Sudan, there are no real figures that have been said to now be the forces behind the organizing. The organizing is now being done. There is not really a coordinating figure who has been seen to be the one being representative of the voice of these people on the streets, or of the youth on the streets. It's really like grassroots organizing. And there is not a real one figure that you can say, or two figures that you can say, now these are the people who are leading this particular push, which is a good thing, because if there was someone who came out, maybe perhaps he would have already been killed by these military.
That's Michelle. That's Michelle has her husband made it back from Sudan. Her husband's better than those. Michelle, has your husband made it back to Michigan from Sudan? Has your husband arrived back safely yet?
I hope they're safe. I do hope that they are safer, because right now Khartoum, that is where the action is, and also in Ethiopia, that is also where the fighting also is in Ethiopia. So those two countries, for the moment, will not really urge anyone really to be involved so much with what's going on, especially when it comes to travel. You might decide to postpone your travel, or decide to wait till matters also do calm down, because right now it's crazy in Khartoum right now. And in fact, the internet for the time being are used to radio to communicate and organize, take over those data centers to get the comms back online. I agree with you there. I hope that there is people with the technical expertise, even with these protests, to also be able to move in that particular kind of a way. And you're saying no, not yet, but I hope that they are safe. Maybe perhaps you have been able to communicate with them, or because I understand that the communications have also been shut, so it might be difficult.
Wow, your husband ain't back yet? Wow. Uh-oh. Wow. Sorry to hear that.
I hope that they are. I hope that they are safe wherever they are. So it's a good thing that they are organizing. I do hope that there are figures from the people or from these protests who do have, having a revolution is one thing, but having now these people with the real strategy on how to turn around this particular country is a problem. You might be out there on the street shouting and doing everything, but is there a plan? Is there a plan after with the organizers or with the people who are leading these movements? Because at the end of the day, lives of people will be lost. Of course, that is a cost of any revolution. But also, is there a plan? We have seen in Egypt, there was a revolution. Tunisia, there was a revolution. But 10 years and 20 years down the line, it's the same, not 20 years really, but about 10 years down the line, it's the same kind of a problem that they're having. So
that wasn't no revolution. That revolution was started by the CIA. When Barack Obama was still in power, some of Egypt, when they got rid of Hosni Mubarak. That was they called it the spirit. What is that shit? Whatever it was, that was sponsored by the CIA.
Now they start. They are back where they began, but I'm hoping in Sudan they are wiser, and they will also have a strategy after all these happens. But nonetheless, we shall be back later on. Sister Michelle, you're asking whether Akil will be back on later on tonight. We shall be back later on with the Africa Today show. I'm not sure whether after the Africa Today show Akil will be coming back on, but I want to thank you for joining us. You're saying it's buffering. I think it's maybe on my connectivity. But we shall be back later on with the Africa Today show, and we also hope you join us.
I'll tell you about it later. Hopefully, hopefully this will be posted. This will be posting the video at the damn house. So we'll see.
And us. I'm second to ask about the Arab Spring. The Arab Spring, that is what we also.
Arab Spring. That's the name of that shit. Arab Spring.
That is.
Arab Spring became an Arab winter because it's the same shit. Exactly. It's an Arab winter. It wasn't no damn from the streets. It's from the CIA. Arab Spring,
Those not from the grassroots. So 10 years down the line, they are back at the same place where they were after the spring. But anyhow, family, thank you so much.
And why if Kenya ever tries to do right, they never, Jomo Kenyatta, as the rest of them, they never collapsed the tribe. So if Kenya ever starts to stand up and start doing right, they're going to come in and put tribe against tribe and cause civil war in Kenya.
What they do in Kenya is really introduce the Al-Shabaab element from Somalia, and probably it's just people from around, and then they disguise as Al-Shabaab from Somalia.
They'll do that. That's just to put fear. If Kenya ever made any real moves, fuck that Al-Shabaab shit. I'm gonna put tribe against tribe. Shit, I need tribe against tribe.
That is what we have not come, far away from, because even right now it's an election year, but we shall be keeping an eye on that. Thank you so much, General Mosquito, for being with us. Sister Michelle, thank you so much.
You'll see the Lou busting the camera in the head. You'll see the Kakura, whatever, hitting somebody in the neck. Every tribalism. I thought we were all Kenyans. We're not Kenyans no more, damn it. We're trying.
Again, I would be busy fighting over the potatoes at KFC. But thank you so much, family, for joining us. We hope you guys.
Got Kenyan potatoes, and they not. I said, who made this deal? You got Kenyan potatoes, and they're not being used in KFC. That don't even make any sense to me. I would never allow KFC in Kenya. KFC would have never gotten to Kenya. Never.
Should be a total boycott over their business, and that is exactly.
So much love, family.
We shall be joining you later. We shall be back later, and we asked you to join us on the broadcast. In case you would support the network, you can be able to do so using Cash App, Fire.
I'm gonna ask the girls. I'm asking girls when they go back to that restaurant to punch that midget in the face. that little midget running around. Every time I see that midget run around, it disturbs me. I'm scared of midgets.
You shouldn't.
Every time I see a midget, I'm going to punch him in the face.